three of just discuss. So welcome friends again. Today is October 1st, Friday 2021. This is a session on will making and estate planning. I am honored to be having a wonderful friend, a sister, our guest speaker tonight, Baganzi Lutaaya. But before we start, I would like to tell you a little bit about how we came to this conversation. All of us know that the last 15, 16 months have claimed a lot of lives. I doubt whether there is anyone who hasn't been impacted by death. But also we know that some of these deaths have come when we, the people who have stayed behind, have not prepared ourselves. So the New African Canadians, a small non-profit organization, are working to respond to the needs of newly arrived individuals, has had a series of conversations around mental wellness and dying. And so 2 weeks ago, when we had a session on death and dying in the diaspora, among us, the topics that we felt was needed in our community is planning, and hence this forum around will making and estate planning. So any questions or comments? 3, 2, 1, go. So maybe can we just have a brief introduction to know who is who on the call, and then I will ask Carol to, give us a few remarks. So why don't we begin with Maggie? Maggie's S20. Your name and where you're calling from. Maggie, if you're there, or you can type in the chat. As we wait for Maggie, let's hear from Galaxy A70. Briefly, your name and where you're calling from.
Jackie from Toronto.
Thank you, Jackie. You're most welcome. Jackie, how did you get to know about this meeting?
You sent me a message on WhatsApp.
Okay, excellent. So it's via WhatsApp.
Yes.
There are so many Jackies. Which Jackie is this?
Jackie O.
Jackie O.
Yes.
Okay, Jackie Okomo.
Right.
My sister.
Yes.
In leadership, we tell people when you show up, you got to show your face. And 2, you got to show us your name. So thank you very, very much.
Hello.
Mr. Jackie. Maggie, yes?
Maggie in Ottawa, Canada.
Maggie, what's your last name, if you don't mind?
Namsoke.
Yes, Namsoke. How did you get to know about this meeting?
You sent me a WhatsApp message.
Thank you, Maggie Namsoke. And Rahim? Rahim? Okay, as we wait for Rahim, let's hear from Lydia.
Hi, everyone. Lydia Kovsinge from Toronto.
Welcome, Lydia. How did you get to know about this meeting?
You sent me a WhatsApp message, but I also got to know from the New Canadian platform.
Thank you and welcome, Lydia.
Thank you.
And Unia. Sister Unia, are you there? As we wait for Unia, let's hear from Sarah.
I am Sarah Nyende from London, Ontario.
London, Ontario. Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Thank you.
How did you hear about this meeting?
Jimmy Nyende gave me the information, my husband.
Jimmy Nyende, thank you. You see, we are networking. At least someone passed it on to their husband. We have a special guest from outside Canada, Maureen Kalemba. we are doing a little introduction. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, I'm Marina Simwe, actually. Let me put on some light. I'm Marina Simwe, and I actually live here in Massachusetts, Boston. I'm happy to say that I know Claire. We're in the same class. So I was like, yeah, you know, when people are doing things and there are things that are beneficial to communities and I know them, I always say yes. And I know Henry's in UNA. So yeah, we are rocking. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening to my voice and hope to benefit from this meeting, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. My apologies. I just sent the invite to my team for UNA a little bit late, but I'm happy that a leader like Maureen is showing up.
Is that Maureen? Maureen,
Uh-huh.
my Maureen, Narisosa.
And let's hear from Kevin, and we will get started. Kevin Shinobi. Kevin? Okay, as we wait for Kevin, Patience.
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Patience. We are just introducing ourselves and where we are calling from. Let's
Oh,
hear
I
from
see.
you and then Kevin.
Right. Hi, everybody. My name is Patience. I am in Virginia, USA, in Fairfax City. And I was invited, I believe, by Patience Kitamirike. Is that right, Patience? Is Patience on? Let me see. I just got here, so I haven't.
Thank you so much. I'm happy. I think Patience is not here, but I'm happy to have people from Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. Henry.
Welcome. And
Thank you,
Kevin?
Henry.
Hello, I'm Kevin Shinobi from Toronto. What else am I supposed to say? What was asked? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Sorry, we
Okay.
didn't hear that very well, Kevin.
Kevin Shinobi from Toronto. Work for an architecture firm. I'm still at work, so I'm just listening in, but good to be here.
Thanks so much for being resilient. You're at work, but at least you want to tune in. We really appreciate it. How did you get the information for this meeting?
You sent me a link.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to everyone who is here. This is a conversation really that we hope can kickstart internal dialogue around how we plan for ourselves and our families. This session is recorded. If you don't want to put on your face, that's okay. But we have a very wonderful speaker who would love to see your faces if you can, no pressure, since she's showing us her face. So Carol Lutaaya is a good friend of mine. She's a professional. When I sent out a link, someone in Alberta said, "Oh my God, it's Carol. How is she?" Another person in Toronto said, "Oh my goodness, I haven't seen her in a long time. She used to be so great. She's so disciplined. Oh, Bambi, I'm going to tune in at 7 because I'm at work." So Carol, those are a few comments I got from people who knew that you were speaking with us. So over to you, Carol. You can introduce yourself and tell us what you have.
Thank you, Henry. I'm not sure about the discipline anymore, but we'll see. My name is Carol Lutaaya, and that's my married name. My maiden name is Baganzi. So for those who know me from way back, I'm Carol Baganzi. I'm calling in from Milton, Ontario, where I live with my husband, Robert Lutaaya, and 2 kids, Ella and Elion. Briefly, right now I work with MNP. It's an consulting firm. It's an accounting and consulting firm actually it's across Canada, but my office is based in Mississauga. And I work with the cybersecurity department as a proposal manager for them. So there's a lot of, reading, editing, proofreading, writing, and a bit of project management, which I also do as a side hustle, proofreading business. If you ever have any issue, any need for that, let me know. Thank you so much, Henry, for having us here today. And thank you for giving me the chance to speak to us. One thing I forgot to tell you is that before I joined this company, MNP, I worked for a law firm. I was a manager at a law firm for about 10 years, but it was in the personal injury department. So I have a bit of experience and knowledge in that area. Having said that, I'm not speaking as a legal expert here, but I'm just giving you legal information. And if you need legal advice, definitely, I would advise you to speak to a lawyer. I don't see any lawyers right now. Do we have any lawyers on our chat right now? We have some in the community.
Maureen Kalemba is
but Maureen is in the US.
Okay.
But
yes, my love, Carol Baganzi, yes, me.
Maureen is in the US. Some things are the same, but there's it's actually different. I won't go into the background of this meeting because Henry already touched on that when we met 2 weeks ago. So I'll just start right away to talk about estate planning, because that is one of the things that we decided that we should address right away. And another thing we had decided to talk about is insurance. So I'm thinking and hoping that that will be maybe the next session when we have one of these meetings. So what is estate planning? And the first thing you'd ask yourself is, what is an estate? Most of us think that estates are for the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs, but we all have estates. An estate is anything that you own. Whatever you own is your estate. Everything that you own. Is it your watch? Is those gold watches, your house, your car? All that is your estate. What is estate planning? Estate planning is when you arrange an orderly transfer of your assets to the person that you want to receive them. And that can be in life, that can be assets for you when you're still alive, and also for when you die. And that's how it brings us to the issue of wills. Wills is just part of estate planning. Other aspects of estate planning include powers of attorney, where you give somebody the power to make decisions for you when you're still alive, but when you're incapacitated. You can have one for health, you can have one for finances, and that person can be the same. Another aspect of estate planning is where you give a directive. It's called an advance directive, where you say, in case of life prolonging treatment, if we ever get to that point, I don't want to stay in hospital for long, or keep me on those machines for as long as you want. So those are some of the instructions that you put in, that you consider when you're doing your estate planning. And these three that I just talked about are for when you're alive. A health power of attorney, or POA, is somebody who will make decisions on your behalf in terms of medical when you're still alive, but when you're incapacitated. And the financial POA is a person who will make decisions for you when you're still alive, but incapacitated. And then when you die, that's when we bring in the wills. And that is where we're going to focus our talk tonight. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I have notes that I can forward to Henry. If people want them, you can forward them to for people for future reference. But it's simple stuff. I'm sure I remember it. So
I also gave you, sorry to interrupt, share screen in case you have anything you'd like to share. But yeah.
No, I didn't put together a presentation. I apologize for that.
That's
so
fine.
You're stuck with my face or Henry's or whoever will be talking. But I hope that's fine. I hope we'll be paying more attention to the topic for the day. So what is the point of estate planning? The reason why it's important to plan for our estates is to make sure that that work that we have put in doesn't go to waste. Everything that we work hard for, we're working from morning to the next morning, we're accumulating so much stuff. We don't want it to go to waste. So the best way to do that is to have a will. Estate planning also is a blueprint for your family to follow after you pass away. For example, funerals, you talk about, this is in the will, you talk about whatever you want to talk about. How do I want to be buried? What kind of celebration do I want? Stuff like that. So it gives them an idea of, and it makes life easier for them anyway. And it removes guesswork. What did Carol want? What do you think she would have loved? Would she have loved this dress? Would she have loved this? So you remove all that guesswork. It reduces the time when you wrap up your estate. It takes about 1 year to 1.5 years to wrap up a simple estate in Canada. That's, no issues, straight, everything is straightforward. It takes about 18 months. So can you imagine if, you die and, the court has to appoint somebody to take care of you? It adds months to that. So that is another reason for why it's good to do estate planning. And another reason is it saves the court from appointing key roles. Key roles like if you have minor children and there's no one that you have left in charge, the court is going to appoint somebody. And this takes months, for somebody to be approved. The court will also appoint somebody to run your estate if you haven't left somebody to run it. So with a will, you've put all this information there. It saves all this time, energy, and the legal fees that is involved. And just like life insurance, you're not going to benefit from a will. We never benefit from a will. We never benefit from insurance. It's just to give the people we leave behind a peace of mind. And somebody has their hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to bring to your attention, Rahim has a question.
Yes, hi guys. I was just wondering, what do you mean by running the
Rahim,
estate?
could you kindly introduce yourself and where you're calling from?
Oh yes, Rahim, I'm from Edmonton, Alberta.
Thank you. Yes, your question?
I was wondering what you meant by running your estate exactly, because you said, appoint somebody to run your estate.
Yeah, so
what is it?
When you die, there are so many things that have to be done even in death. And one of the things is, let's say you've left debt behind, somebody has to pay that. If you have bills to pay, they have to be paid. You have to file, even in death, we file taxes. There are those final taxes that we file. So somebody has to be doing all this stuff for you. Does that make sense?
It does. I know what it meant, but it was just I think some people might not know what it means to run the estate. So that's why I asked, just so you could give them ideas of what it means to run the estate. But yes, taxes, those kinds of things still have to be paid, even if you're 6 feet under.
I know, we're stuck with them. And according to the statistics that I found, there's about 57% of adults that don't have wills in Canada. 65% of parents with minor children don't have a will. 10% of wills are outdated. They were done, prior to big life changes taking place in somebody's life. For example, I have to do a will that I've been sitting on for a long time. I'm just getting rid of the old one that I had, because when I did it, I didn't have anything. I didn't have kids. I wasn't married, and all that has happened. So I have to update that. So what is a will? A will is a legal document that dictates who will get your assets and who will take care of dependents when you pass away. Okay. Why do you need a will? Like we've been saying, it's one of the most useless things until the day comes when you need it. But we have so many reasons why, we give reasons and excuses for not having a will, me inclusive. And some of the reasons we give are it's costly, which is true. It's inconvenient because you have going to lawyers' offices and meeting with people to sign and witness, all that. It's complex. We never learn about estate planning in school, and we don't even talk about it at our dinner tables. So there's a lot of legalese, we think, so it makes it very hard for us to make that move. And and start talking about wills. And generally, we just don't want to talk about death because it's kind of eerie when you start talking about death. But it's something that we really need to start thinking about. That we just do our wills, tuck them away, and life goes on. So it's very easy to put off writing one for years. But I'm hoping that we can all, arise and put our houses in order, so that when we die, not if, but when we die, at least the people we leave behind are not only grieving for us, crying, but also confused about what needs to be done. What makes a will is a legal document, like I said, but what makes it legal? It does not have to be drafted by a lawyer, or a lawyer doesn't have to be involved in a will. And that is one of the things that is kind of surprising, that lawyers don't have to be involved. But what makes it legal is it is created by you, the individual. You have to be an adult and you have to be of sound mind when you create this will. You can't create a will for your spouse. You can't create a will for your child or your friend. You only do your will. And like I said, you have to be of sound mind. And another thing that makes it legal is that it has to be signed. It has to have a wet signature, and it has to be witnessed by two people. But the two people who witness the will they shouldn't be benefiting from it. For example, let me give what example? Okay, I have a sister here. Let's say she does her will, and part of her will is like, you know what? When I die, I want 5,000 to go to my sister Carol. Because I'm benefiting from that will, I cannot be a witness to the will. So that is one of the things. You need two witnesses, and they shouldn't be benefiting from the will. And you can use anyone. You can. Sorry.
Maybe before you go ahead, I have a question in the chat room. Before I welcome Harriet, Sam, Namutebi, Faith, Aliyah, and the rest, Aisha. Unia asks, like if you leave a debt and no assets, who pays for it when there is no will?
I don't know.
I can probably.
If you have money, go ahead. Is that Rahim?
Rahim,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if at all you pass away and you have debt, let's say $10,000 of debt. Let's say you have a house that you're paying a mortgage on, and you pass away. If you don't have any insurance, life insurance, so essentially you owe the bank whatever the balance of your mortgage is. What the bank will do is they will foreclose on the property, and they'll try and recover their money back. So if the house was, say, worth 300,000 and you had paid down to 250,000, they'll put the house on the market and then try and get a minimum of 250,000. If they surpass that amount, if they get 300,000, for example, they'll give the other 50,000 to whoever is your next of kin, type of thing. If you have nothing, if they can't dispose of that property, or if you had like a debt for a loan from the bank, at that point the bank will write off that loan.
So it's a write-off, what you're saying, because the person wanted to know if you don't have any assets, but you have a debt.
That's correct.
But
That's
in America, they will really go for your family, and they would go for your family members to own your date, and then the family members have to pay whatever time frame it will take. They will carry on your date as a parent, and or as a child or anybody. So it doesn't go away. It just continues with the family.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rahim and Maureen. I know Anthony. Yes, Anthony is also part of New African Canadians and is in insurance. Maybe he can share his views, and then we'll continue with Carol. Anthony.
Hi, I'm called Anthony. I'm calling from Fort Mac, Alberta. Yeah, thank you for this topic. So what I wanted to add on is that sometimes if one didn't leave a will and died, it's very paramount that one they will go to their estate. So what is their estate? If they didn't have any savings, if they didn't have a mortgage, but say they had the life insurance. If they didn't also have a life insurance, what happens? If they're working, so they really look for all the means. If they're working and maybe their workplace was having RSP matching, stuff like that, that's what they'll go for first, and then they capture it. But in case of one had the life insurance policy, it's kind of the same suggestion my brother talked about the mortgage. So they will go to the life insurance proceedings. They'll first pay the debts before even they settle what is supposed to go as the surrender value to the deceased and the family and the other beneficiaries. So that's how they will approach it. But it's very, very important, whoever gets, especially if you have an insurance policy or a mortgage, even your car, they will look for simple assets. If you even had a wedding ring and it's valued, there is a way they track out, because sometimes you go to apply for maybe a student loan or apply for a loan in the bank, and there are funny questions you fill out on the forms, and you're like, oh, maybe, oh, are you married? You feel you're married. So, but that now comes to after you pass away, they'll look for your spouse. The spouse is alive. Okay, what did he have in person? Okay, apart from, say, you didn't have really a lot of assets, but like what was there? And then if your spouse is alive, your spouse might take responsibility of that loan if you guys are married. So depending on the state and depending on some laws of where you are, but it has happened. And yeah, so basically that's all I can contribute for now. But yeah, it's a really crucial topic that we need to address.
Great, thank you, Anthony and Maureen and Rahim. Welcome.
I had
Mark
one thing to
Bulwa.
add, but I think I'll let the speaker continue because I know the time where everybody's pressed for time, so we'll keep things on schedule.
Yeah, but Rahim, before we continue, please make sure you hang around. People might need your contact and a few questions to you and Carol and to people who are experienced in the field. Yes, Carol.
All right, so I was just giving you examples of people that can sign, can be witnesses to the will. It can be your co-workers, your neighbors, church, community leaders, friends, as long as they're not going to be beneficiaries to the will. And then there's this new thing that's I think it's in BC, where you can virtually witness, but you cannot digitally sign the will. There's a lot of gymnastics involved with that, because both people have to be, they have to be together, and I don't even want to go into that. But it's a new thing, and I think it's just is it BC or Quebec? So how do you create a will? It all depends on your budget, your comfort level, and your life situation. The simplest and cheapest way to do it is handwriting a will, and that's called a holograph. But this is not accepted in BC. For those who live in British Columbia, it's not accepted. You write your wishes. No witness is required. You just have to sign, you yourself, you sign as Henry Luyombia in your handwriting. I don't know if you guys ever read a story about a snow plowed guy. He was plowing and then he was hit. And he wrote on his truck, "Everything goes to my wife." As he was dying, he scribbled that on his truck. Yes. Apparently that was accepted, as a will. So that's an example of a holograph will. Remember, as you write that, remember to appoint an executor. An executor is like, you call them estate administrators, somebody who will run your estate, like we're talking about. A guardian for if you have minor children, somebody take care of the children, and also to assign your assets. Then the next way you can write a will is DIY, do-it-yourself kits. Those are paper kits from stores like Staples or Free Government Farms. You can do an internet search on those and see they're cheap, about 20 maybe to 40 bucks. But these are just blanks that you fill in. It's very hard to customize them depending on your situation. And then there are online platforms. There's legalwills.com, there's willful.co. That's actually one of the ones that I'm using, right? Willful is one that I'm using. And then, so we're getting, we are coming from the cheapest to the most expensive. Then from there, you can go to a lawyer. The lawyer will give you legal advice specific to your situation, depending on how complicated not your life, but your estate is, you will need a lawyer. And then notaries can also, they have the capacity to draft wills, especially in Quebec and British Columbia, they can do that. So when do you need a lawyer to draft your will? If your situation is complex, you will need to hire a lawyer for advice. For example, there's a separation or divorce. You're a business owner that has very specific and complex wishes. You're very specific about how your business, you want to deal with your business when you die. When you want to create multiple wills in different jurisdictions, for example, you want to do one in Canada and one in Uganda, you will need a lawyer for that. And then if you require complex trusts, if you have, and now we're seeing so many blended families, if you want a trust for Carol's kids, and then you want a trust for this other person's kids, so you will need a lawyer to help you with that. And then if you have conditional wishes, for example, I want my children to get their inheritance after graduation. I want them to get their inheritance when they turn 35. You will need legal advice for that. Okay, so moving on. Anthony touched on this. What happens when you die without a will? They call it dying intestate. You don't have a will. So in Ontario, there's a formula that distributes your assets, and it varies. It may vary from your wishes. So if you want to be at peace in your death, maybe this will push you to make a will. For example, they split everything between the spouse and the children, and the children's share is held in trust until they're 18. So your spouse will not have access to these assets until the children are 18. And then another thing that happens if you die without a will, if you die intestate, is spouses are expected, they're given a preferential share of the estate. Common law spouses are not entitled to anything. So if you're in a common law relationship and you want to leave something for your partner, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Maybe after that point, Rahim's hand is up.
Okay. And you want to leave something for your partner, please do a will and include that. What happens when you die without a will is that the court is going to appoint child caregivers, and they will also appoint an administrator to wrap up your estate. And you don't even know if these are people that you would have liked to be running your estate. Okay?
Great points. Rahim and Unia. Unia has a question, and then we go to Rahim. How does a verbal will work?
I don't even think it's legal.
Is it recorded? Is it, I don't know. Maybe let's hear some suggestions from Rahim. And again, a disclaimer, this is not legal advice that we're giving here. It's for informational purposes. You are encouraged to visit your lawyer or get a legal expert. Let's hear from Rahim and Maureen, and we'll go back to Carol. Rahim.
Yes, thanks. So I was just going to say that's a very good reminder there, Henry, that this is not definitely nobody should take this and run to the bank with it. All they should do is dig deeper and learn what the terms are and definitions and stuff. So one of the things that was mentioned was things putting
We lost you. You are muted. Rahim, you're muted. Rahim, you are muted. As we wait, let's hear from, yes, you're back.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, did you hear me? I was just saying that I was wondering if the presenter there could explain what exactly a trust is and what it means to put things in a trust.
No, I'm not going to go into those details because I didn't really do a lot of research on trusts.
Okay, I'll quickly say something about the trust then. A trust is essentially something that like you mentioned that the kids can't touch it until they're 18. So that's what trusts are. You essentially, it's safekeeping assets, properties, whatever the case, until the person who's, I guess, I don't know what to call it, the beneficiary is of age or is I guess able to manage for themselves. Then they transfer these safekeeping of items to this individual.
Great point. Thank you, Rahim. Maureen.
Yes, I just wanted to touch on for the people in America that
Oh, sorry, I muted you by mistake. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
okay, so we gotta learn that there's nothing which we are now writing that is really now authenticated. We need things to be really computerized, written down, printed, and we cannot just talk about it and then it is authentic anymore. So verbal wills here in Massachusetts, they're not acceptable, and most of the states. So in order for it to be acceptable in the US, they apply for the military. And the military where they apply, it's when we are downrange. I'm privy to the military, so I'll give you that information that when you're downrange and we're in a war zone, a verbal will can be done, but it cannot be we cannot come up in normal day life when we are here in a non-war zone and make a verbal will. It requires you to write down something. So like Carol said, that person who wrote on the vehicle, his will was valid because he wrote what he needs to bequeath to the next person, to pass on to the next person. So that's how these wills are taken in US. The only time they're really accepted as verbal wills is when you're downrange in the military capacity and you are killed or you are facing enemy fire, that when you do about to pass out and then pass on and then you come out and say, hey, I need Maureen to take my property, it will be accepted and it will be legal. Thank you.
It's good to have a perspective from the military. Thank you. Let's hear one from Anthony and then we get back to Carol. Before I welcome Joseph Kamugisha from the United States and other people who have joined us, MJ, Jabbar, Harriet Kachinda, and the like. Anthony, quickly, and to Carol.
Thank you. I'll react quickly. Yeah, thank you, Carol, for that. So what I wanted to add on was regards to the kids under that are under 18 to benefit. So, for example, in the insurance industry where I am, if I'm with the client and they are doing their application for coverage, there is a slot where we put beneficiaries. If these beneficiaries are minor and they're under 16, we get them to put a trustee. So a trustee is a person that they choose. It is advisable to be related by family or by blood, who can later on take up the responsibility to make sure that the investment in the insurance policy is taken care of. And when these kids reach the maturity age, they can take ownership of their policies or whatever is in their assets. So that's one thing. However, the benefit that of the will is that the will supersedes the power of whatever is in the insurance policy. For example, if one put beneficiaries in the insurance policy of, say, my son would be taking 20% of what is in the insurance policy, and later on they discover that maybe my son has gotten money and they are well off, I'll give him 10%, but they didn't go back to the insurance policy to change that. But they go in their will before they do die. So they put the will and they say it's 10%. So they will take the 10%, which is in the will. That's the power of the will. So thank you. That's all I wanted to add on.
Thank you, Anthony, for that clarification. These are very wonderful discussions. Thank you to everyone. Yes, Carol.
The next thing that I want to talk about is the elements of a will, what you need to include. Number one is to choose an administrator or an executor, the person who will carry out your wishes in this will. And, you know, as women, when we're choosing bridesmaids for our weddings, it's like a popularity contest. This is not a time for that. You choose somebody who is equipped to do this role, who can, you know, because what they're going to be doing is they will create a list of all your assets and liabilities. They'll pay off your debts. This is some of the things that we're talking about. They'll file your final taxes. They'll clean your personal belongings. And so hopefully you choose somebody who's financially savvy. You know, it can be a spouse, a close family member, a friend, a professional. It can be an uncle that, you know, has been doing these things for a long time. Or even a bank. You can choose a bank as an executor. But it's also good to assign a backup in case the first one refuses to do it, is no longer available to do it. It's always good to choose. Most people choose their spouses. So in case your spouse dies with you or you die at the same time, then at least you have a backup for that. Okay, what else I want to talk about here? If the executor doesn't live in Canada, it will change the tax implications. So you need to speak to an accountant about that. You need to speak to a lawyer about that as well. And it's always a good thing to talk to these people ahead of time. Let them know what you're planning to do. Don't just hijack them or, you know, take them by surprise. Tell them where to find most of the recent copy of your will and any info that they may need. For example, your financials. If everything is in a safe, let them know what the code is so that, you know, when you die, at least they have access to that. Recently, I heard that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Aretha Franklin, who passed away, I think, what, almost a year ago? No, more than a year ago. Her estate was just being wrapped up because they didn't know where the will was. Apparently she had stashed it in the couch. So whether that is true or not, I don't know. But, you know, that's why she chose to put her will in the couch. Her administrator didn't know where it was. So when you do your will, register it on Canada Will Registry to ensure that the administrator knows where it is. And at this registry, just give your name. I, Carol Baganzi, I have a will, and it's located here. This is where I stored it. Another element to consider is choosing beneficiaries. It can be individuals or organizations that get your financial property or any sentimental assets that you may have. People who love to cook, you know, give away recipe books and stuff like that. And for these beneficiaries, you can leave a gift, a specific gift. For example, like the example I gave you, you know, where somebody can say, I'm leaving 5,000 to my sister, I'm leaving my cottage to my mom, I'm leaving my car to my friend, you know, stuff like that. You can also leave a gift to charity. You get a tax receipt for that if you leave a gift to charity. And then you can also choose how the residue is distributed. So residue is what is left after your debts, taxes are paid, and all the specific gifts have been distributed. So you can decide who gets that, and it can be anyone, you know, that you want. Also, you can also assign a contingent beneficiary. This is somebody, in case all the beneficiaries are not there to receive whatever you have left, there is this one person that will receive them. So those are the main elements of a will. And also you have to choose a custodian to care for the minor children and a guardian to manage their assets. And this can be the same person. Typically people choose family members or close friends, but talk to them first and let them know what you need to do, because sometimes it can be scary to, you know, accept to raise people's kids. Appoint backups for that as well, if you need to. Because in case the person that you chose or the people that you chose are no longer available, or they no longer are interested in doing that, then you have backup for your children. Then storage, where do you store your will? I don't even know what the right answer for this one is. I don't know if there's a specific place. You know, you can use fireproof envelopes, you can use a safe deposit. Remember to give the code to somebody, or to write it, to note it somewhere where people can find it. Some people have stored their wills in freezers, and that is, you know, that is true, that people put wills in their freezers. Another thing to note is that executors are entitled to compensation. By law, they are entitled to a percentage of your estate. So you don't have to leave them something in the will. You can if you want, but you don't have to leave them anything in the will. And then if you have special needs children or dependent children, you can create, it's a special trust, just like Rahim was telling us about trusts, where you keep your kids' assets safely. This is a trust, it's called the Hanson Trust, where they can continue to receive government benefits, but at the same time, they're getting their inheritance. So they're still getting all those benefits. But these are things that you need to talk to a lawyer about. The main thing that we're talking about here is just a simple estate, no complications that, you know, you can just peruse through. Are there any questions? Oh, my system is frozen.
Maybe I can jump in if there is no one. For our colleagues in the United States, and maybe who are not in Ontario, I know policies differ. We have people from across Canada and then in the United States. Does anyone know how things operate in Alberta, or even in Massachusetts, or elsewhere, Virginia? Rahim and Anthony.
Henry, I'm just first going to go off the line for just a bit. My computer is freezing, so bear with me. But you guys can go ahead.
Sure. Anthony, did you have a point?
Thank you, Henry. Or maybe what I just wanted to add on, although I wanted to ask her before she went, is if one is making a will and say, okay, some of us, I don't know, depending on one's plan, but what I've seen when I'm taking care of some of my residents or patients, because I'm a nurse as well as an insurance agent, but I get to see that most of them have gotten what they call personal directives. I don't know how that is called in Ontario or USA, but a personal directive is it's part of what the lawyer would draft when you go in your will making process. It's like you're assigning. It helps one to get responsibilities assigned. That even before one dies, because people get dementia, people can lose their functionability. So it's very important that we consider this, because sometimes we look at the will as the point of, okay, someone dies and that's it. But then when you go to the lawyer to draft everything, and you'll have components of what will happen to you when you're still alive. You'll have someone to maybe take care of your finances. Could be your elder child or your elder daughter or your elder son. and then someone who will be taking care of maybe your house or your business. When you're not able to work, maybe you got a back injury. So in those circumstances, when you're not able to do what you used to do before, that's part of preparing your estate. And then at the end of the time, when someone passes away, there is always information from the will, from the last will, that will assign everyone, the portion of what they'll be benefiting as beneficiaries. And also to add on what I see that I've had clients. At first, I was shocked myself when I was signing up one professor here in Alberta, and I don't have to disclose their name because of confidentiality, but this person put the beneficiary as an institution, and to my surprise, I was thinking, oh, maybe he's gonna say kids or family. So depending on one's choice, that's why will is very important. You might think things go otherwise. People give their property to churches, depending on one's choice and what they see is benefiting. So it's always very important that we consider this. This is a crucial. Another example. Sorry, I would have so many. I had a client that, sad news that she did pass away. But when she discovered that she had terminal cancer, she had a chance to rashly go work on her will. And luckily that before she passed away, her will was enacted, and the beneficiaries didn't really have so much trouble to benefit from what was in her insurance policy and other assets that she left. So to my summary, what I would say that it's very important we all have a will and register it. One thing I would thank Carol is people can make a will, as she said, and hide it under the couch, and you don't know where it is. So you made the will, but it's just you know where the will is, and no one knows. You can take it to the bank in a safety deposit box or post office, or inform, your manager at work, or someone that you can talk to. I think it's very important.
Great, thank you, Anthony. And personal directive, that's a new term. Remember, we are not in a legal class, but we have a legal expert ready to chip in from the US perspective. After Maureen, we're going to hand over to Carol, and then we'll get into the final bit of Q&A and discussion. Maureen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry and Carol and Anthony, for your contributions, and everybody who's listening in. The personal directives when it comes to the US. In the US, when we talk about estate planning, we're talking about testate, as in living will, is a living will, which you're talking about as a personal directive. We apply it as a living will because you're still living, but you can still will certain things to a person in case you go into a vegetable state. And in that vegetable state, you're gonna get yourself a medical proxy. Who you call your proxy? We call them medical proxies, and in Canada, it may be a different term, but it's all the same. And all we are doing is to tell this medical proxy, the moment I'm in my vegetable state, if you wanna pull the plug, please go ahead. If you want me to stay for a certain longer time and you think I'm gonna get back to normal, all right, it's still your prerogative, you as the medical proxy who I have appointed over my will. So we got living wills. We are in living wills. We're gonna state everything we have when we are dead, the tested will, okay? And then when you die intestate, in the dying intestate, you are dying without a will. And everything of yours in United States, if you're married, it goes automatically to your spouse. It's automatic. You don't have to even talk about having a will. And in the military, we advise people because this is really our area of expertise, because most people go downrange and they are going downrange without wills. So we have to make sure that every soldier who goes downrange has a will as legal. And if they are going down and we don't want to waste their time to expedite their paperwork, and we know they're married, we're going to tell them that, hey, when you married, your assets automatically fall. It's a default. They automatically fall to your spouse. And if at all you are single and your parents are still living, they automatically fall to your parents. It is automatic. Those two are automatic. Until you don't want those two to happen, that is when we will draft you a will in the military. Okay? Because we are saying, don't waste your time. It's already automatic. The state already has it. It's a state law. Okay? So then when you don't want the two and you say, no, even though you're telling me my parent, I don't agree with my father, I don't agree with my mother. So guess what? I don't want those two to be on my will, despite the fact that it automatically defaults on them. I want my children. So we're going to go ahead and draft you that will, which is going to be going to your children so that the state doesn't do otherwise, just in case you pass. So we have the medical proxy, we have the living will, and we have the tested will. So all the three, we do them for you in case you want them. But in case you don't want them and you just want the living will, we'll draft that for you. And the tested will and living will comprise of the insurance portion. So we know exactly how much life insurance you got and how you're going to be distributing your life insurance. That is paramount, because once anything happens, we don't want it to be different from what exactly you bequeathed long time ago. So those are my supplementations onto what has been said. Thank you.
They are very good, Maureen. Tested will, medical proxy, and living will. Maureen, before you go, and before I get back to Carol, I know you trained in law in Uganda at Makerere University. Someone has asked, how about in Uganda? How is the will? How does it work in Uganda? Because now we are giving Canada and US.
Let me tell you the funny bit of it. We all practice Commonwealth law. So it's common law that is applying. The law that applies in New England applies in Uganda. Okay, and I'm telling you, the law that applies in Canada does not differentiate from the one in England. We're still getting in the person dying when he has willed all the property, and we also have the person who dies intestate when he hasn't willed anything, and that person goes to the Administrator General. Okay, in Uganda, that's when the Administrator General's office applies. Okay, and that is where they're gonna really get somebody who is going to be given the letters of administration. And those letters of administration are going to be, you can choose as a family who is going to be your administrator of the estate. And that is how your estate is going to be distributed. So it is just terminology that is changing, but everything is still done the same way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Carol, over to you. I can see you are even nodding your head. You're like, yes, okay.
No, it's just interesting to get it from the military perspective. Just hearing some terminologies. So the last part of what I want to talk about, just a few notes. There's when you inherit something, there is no tax. You don't pay tax on that, except if there's a mortgage where you have to transfer it to your name, or you sell the house and pay off the mortgage. How do you can update a will? There is that option. When do you need to update a will? When there's big changes in your life. For example, when you get married or you get divorced and you don't want the other person, to be part of your estate, you need to update that. When somebody in your will passes away, you need to name another person. When there's a new child in your family, you need to update it. And as of January 2022, if you have a will and then get married, that will automatically become invalid. So as of next year, if you have a will right now
and before you get married, and then you get married, it's going to become invalid. So those are, some of the situations when you can update your will. How do you update a will? You can add an addendum. You'd need to visit a lawyer to add that. It's called a codicil, the addendum. You can revoke the old one that you have and just start afresh, execute a new one. You can also use cross out all alterations. You cross out something with a pen. The problem with this is that you need the same witnesses to the original will to witness these changes. So if Henry witnessed my will 5 years ago and he's no longer in Ontario, then, I have to figure out how to get him back here to do that. So it's always easier to just do a new one, a new will, and things move much smoother. What else to do to make life easier?
Someone wants to add on before you go to the next point. Maureen.
Yeah, I like the fact that she said that you just need to create a new will. Most people don't remember even where their old wills are. Since they are putting them under the fridge in areas which are really compromised, they don't know. And most, I want to give myself as an example, and because I always give myself always as an example. I don't believe in examples that don't create yourself as a leader. My family, when my dad passed, he had a will, but when he had it via a friend, and a friend wasn't next to us, okay? And we presumed he died intestate. So we went ahead to do everything intestate. And on distributing the property, the friend comes and, hey, he's the will. And that is after a long haul of attorney general, everything was just like administrator general, wrangles between the family, everyone talking about each other, the big words. And then somebody comes and salutes so well, okay? But we found that we had to look for one loophole. That's all I had to look for in order to make it invalid. Anything that was new in his estate, because we had gone all the way and we are like, we're not going back. Okay, we're gonna go with him intestate. And so we found that he had property, yeah, which he hadn't included in that will. So it made the will invalid. But this is a person coming last minute. That's why Anthony and Carol were saying you need to announce the people who you have your wills with, because you're leaving this family broken, this family not knowing what other route to take, The beauty of us being in the European countries or the Western countries or the American countries is that at least there's a directive for us. The states have already created that for us. The nations have thought ahead for us. But imagine the people in Uganda, because this happened, I'm telling you, 97, 98. I wasn't yet a law student, okay? But that I had to figure out myself. And that's how I led my family to that directive. But if at all that wasn't done that way, how many families have suffered that, So we need to create that awareness. A will is stigmatized, I remember the first time I talked with my husband about a will, he told me, that was the first thing that came to mind. And I was like, I'm not saying that you're gonna die, but I'm saying we need to create one, for it to be in place, regardless of what the situation happens. It's a stigma that most people do not embrace. It's like life insurance. Those two things are very hard. People think, oh, some people are going to take care of it. That's something about life insurance. People say, hey, okay, there is no, but the burden you give to other people is big. And we asking, can you please address that beforehand so that you're not a burden to other people? We can sail through our grief. When you are grieving, you don't want to think about what exactly is coming at play. All these factors would be taken care of if at all you had to think right for your family, for your siblings, and for your community. So knowing where your will is is very important. And if you feel something is a mess or something has changed slightly, just do a new one. Don't even do a codicil, because a codicil, you may still miss out something and we still go back into you dying intestate. Because once the things are not upright and you have property that hasn't been included in a will, it makes the will null and void. So let's do a new one every 2-3 years. I always advise somebody, because in every 5 years, at least you've accumulated something. So if you've accumulated something, do a new will and get rid of whatever doubts there is in the family, and the family is able to move ahead in a stronghold and in unison and in love. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen. I think we need to have a deeper conversation. The team in the United States and the Canada, we could link up for a bigger forum on these and related issues. Yes, Carol, welcome Ben Lutaaya Kato, ONL, and someone else. Yes, Carol.
Yeah, so these are just footnotes that I made. What else to do to make life easier for us? To write about your funeral and burial wishes, where you wish to be buried, because sometimes you're like, does this person want to be taken back to Uganda or, stay here? And you're conflicted. Let the people close to you at least know that, because any helpful information at that critical time just eases the burden. It eases, the whole process. Digital assets. Do you want your Facebook account to be deleted? Or do you still want it to be there so people can remember you 10 years down the road? We get all these reminders about your birthday. Cryptocurrency, passwords, and all these things can be written. You can write a letter to your executor and put it in a folder somewhere, or in your safe, and just keep all this information. It doesn't have to be. You can also include a list of your accounts. They don't have to be in details, but just say, I have bank accounts in TD, I have investments in Tangerine, I do this, insurance policies with whatever, State Farm, whatever it is, and just let them know what your wishes are. So if you yourself don't have these answers, then do you expect your family to have these answers? No. So I have a list of resources. Well, they're not so many. But I can send some out later for people to read about it, to read about wills, to ask questions. But if you are confused and, I think it would be better to talk to a lawyer, I would encourage you to become friends with lawyers, make friends with lawyers, get advice from them if you need to. But let's get on this now.
That's great. I know I don't have some people's contacts. I could leave my contact if you want for people who are interested, but also we need to really connect with Rahim, whose hand is up. We have about 17 minutes to end our conversation. We've also been gladly joined by one of the prominent Ugandan lawyers in Toronto, Gerard Nsamba. Maybe after Rahim, we'll hear from other people with questions, and then we'll give him a chance as well. So Rahim, your question or comment?
My comment was one. I know that we've mentioned keeping items and safety deposits in TD as an example. Other banks, just a cautionary, I guess, note or comment. A couple of years ago, TD, I don't know if it was inadvertently or intentionally, they emptied a bunch of safety deposit boxes, and a lot of valuables were lost forever.
Oh.
So it is, ensure if you're keeping that will, make sure it's in multiple places, as everybody has been saying. But be wary of even banks. Don't have all your trust in the bank, just as you don't want to have all your trust in one friend of yours, because again, they might have their own reasons for not coming out and saying, hey, actually the guy left a will, So it is quite important to make sure you I don't want to call it diversifying, but keep your wills in multiple places and make sure multiple people are aware of these wills. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rahim, is it okay if you can share your contacts, or maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, because I am very much interested in possibly connecting with you. You may not be aware, but New African Canadians is federally registered, even though we operate mainly in Ontario, but we'll be launching a chapter next month in Alberta. We have a few people also in Quebec. We want to open a chapter there next year, as well as Atlantic Canada. Before you share your story, I want to acknowledge a few volunteers who are really keeping this movement going, and there are some on this call. Harriet Kachinda, an educationist and a very wonderful social worker. She's right here with us. Sam Ochen, a very wonderful community mobilizer. Mr. Mark Luhulwa, very powerful community volunteer, is also our treasury person. Anthony Kadu, who is also my younger brother, same mother, same father, is doing an excellent job out there. I can see who else, a few others. I think ONL. Yeah. Faith, yes, Faith Nasumba, very wonderful woman as well, and a few others who are not here. So Rahim, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you're comfortable.
I'll say a little bit about myself. Yes, I live in Edmonton. I've been here for a few years now. I definitely don't have anything to do with wills or insurance, but it is just one of those things that also hit me a few years ago, where a lot of people were, passing away, and they didn't have, nobody knew where they wanted to be buried. Nobody knew what they had. So I personally took on I took an interest into things like wills and estates and the trusts and that kind of a thing. So I'm by no means a specialist, but I know a little bit of what I've done on my own research, and I will drop my contact in the chat box there if anybody is interested to hear what I've had or what I've encountered.
Thank you very, very much. So, Carol, any final words before we open it up to the question and answer?
I just want to thank you for the chance to speak to all of us and to remind us, especially me, of what needs to be done. And I hope that we can all make an effort and set a timeline on when we can get our affairs in order. There's a website that I use. It's called willful.co. They help Canadians prepare and deal with death in a digital age. They work with lawyers across Canada. So, and they can customize your will for you. So I'm not paid for that. I'm just telling you because I use it. But there's somebody else who dropped in a website in the chat box about, I think it's legal wills or something. So there are options there. These willful guys, they charge from $99 to $150 per person. So, but they're not active in Newfoundland and PEI. They're still trying to get in there. So if you live there, it's not a place for you. Yeah.
Carol, did you say they are not active where?
In Newfoundland.
Okay.
And PEI.
That's what I heard, and I sense some discrimination, but
no, they're working towards.
Later.
They're working towards.
So we have an offer. Maureen says she can help draft a will. So Maureen, if it's okay, can you also tell us briefly who you are and your contact? Rahim, for those of us who are interested, has just shared his phone number. Rahim, can you also share your email if you're comfortable? Rahim's phone number, those of us who don't have access to the chat, is 780-908-6038. And for Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, her email is Maureen Asimwe40@gmail.com. Phone number +1 857 800 7963. Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, I can add on that I can draft your will. All you need is to notarize it. In America, we notarize our wills to be authentic via banks. So I don't know if that is authentic in Canada, but if at all your banking is a way to authenticate or notarize your wills, you just have to take your 2 witnesses to the bank and then yourself, and then you go through the will. As Carol said, the witnesses don't have to be beneficiaries to this will. And then that is it. So I'll get you all the legal language in there. And then you would be just going to notarize it at the bank with your witnesses, because your witnesses wouldn't be with me, but I'll pass you one. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. Friends, let's give a big round of applause to Carol and to all the other contributors for sharing their wisdom and knowledge. So let's type 222 in the chat room, all of us. Can we type 222? We're about 30 people, 29 of us. Can you type 222, 222 in the chat room as a big thank you? Thank you, Aisha, Kevin, Lydia, Maureen, Mia, Patience. I haven't had everyone. Anthony, Carol, Daphne, Lydia, Mia, Mark, that was 4 times, 2222. I say 222. Thank you. Thank you, Sam, Faith, Galaxy, Omuzibo, Isaac. Those were 5 twos. Sarah, Jane, Isaac, Joanne, Unia, thank you to everyone. So any questions, friends, as we wrap up, or comments? How do people think? What's the deadline we are giving to ourselves? This is very personal. This is very emotional. What do people think? You can unmute yourself and say anything. Musumba, Pastor, Joseph, Sarah M.
Greetings to you all.
Yes,
Oh,
Robert. Sorry, Ronald.
Go ahead.
I'm happy that I joined, though I've been late. I joined a few minutes late. I'm just so happy that I joined and I've listened to this. Apparently, as Mr. Yoba, you may have known, we are building a platform which is going to be including payments, banking, insurance, and investments. And when I contacted one of the brokers I wanted them to have a funeral policy or a funeral. It's not a policy, like funeral insurance or funeral cover for someone like an individual, like who's from a community, because I wanted something to do with a personal and individual policy, which is like African style, whereby you can include your parents, you can include your dependents, and even your siblings, if that's the case in a policy, in a funeral cover. And the gentleman looked at me already, and I said, wow, because I'm trying to Africanize something and I'm doing it in Canada. So he said to me, I'm going to get back to you in 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to let the panelists know that as we are trying to do something which is something African, it's a new way of educating our fellow countrymen or fellow members of the Ugandan community that when they belong to something, let them have something that they can benefit from. This is a great initiative, and I applaud that. And when we talk about wills, everyone, we should at least make a benefit. If at all you have a will, we give you a coupon, or we give you a token of appreciation, because when it comes to 4 years down the line, or 5, whatever, and people go without knowing the issue, the benefit of wills, benefit of insurance, you are giving the people who are left on the earth a big responsibility. So let's continue this education system. Let's utilize all avenues to educate our fellow brothers and sisters of everything, inclusive wills, insurance, investments, and the like. Thanks so much for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you, sir. What's your name, sir, and where you're calling from?
My name is Ronald Matthias Kalunji. I'm calling from downtown Toronto.
Downtown Toronto. Thank you so much. I know you could be at work, but we appreciate your time. Benon, and we will wrap up. Benon, you had your hand up.
Henry, this is Joseph here.
Oh, yes, Pastor Joseph Kamugisha.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting this wonderful exposure. I'm not an expert in the field of either wills or...
Pastor, before you go on, where are you calling from?
Oh, wow. I'm calling from Dallas, Texas.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much again. Well, like I said, I'm not an expert in either of the two discussions you are holding. I'm just happy that I've been part of this discussion. I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of all the facilitators, all the information passed out, especially our land friend, Ms. Maureen Fande Kalemba, and the other presenters. It's been quite educative, informative, and I appreciate you guys for hosting this discussion. Thank you once again, and happy weekend to you.
Thank you, Joseph Kamugisha. Again, my apologies. I sent out the note to my colleagues in the United States late, but we are definitely humbled that you could join us. So friends, we have about 3 minutes. Any last conversations? I know Mr. Gerard Nsamba is here. Any comments, being a counsel, a lawyer, or anyone else who, I know Joanne said, thank you, Henry and the team, but really we want to commit to doing something. I know we come to these events and people get excited and nothing is done about it.
I can
Sarah
say
M. Let's first hear from Sarah M.
Yes, thank you for this very good presentation. I'm Sarah Mayanja. I'm in Maryland. My question is, if I have property in Uganda and also here, can I combine it all in one will, or I need to have a will for Uganda and also another will for here? And also, Maureen, how can I approach you? Where can I find you? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, from Maryland, MD. Maybe Sarah, you could also provide us your contacts. We can continue the conversation.
Yes, Sarah, you can contact me, and yes, you can combine them in one will. So yeah, it is just as simple as writing it down. The whole concept of a will, you need to write it down, or you need to let it know. If you don't let it know, so nobody knows about it, and that's how it dies, and that's how you go intestate. So yes, you can contact me. I'm in Boston, Mass. My email and particulars in the chat group, and thank you.
Are you a Fande Momo?
I am.
Okay, then I'll find you.
Yes,
I'll find you
Fande
definitely.
Momo.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you so much, friends. There is no one else who is wanting to share. From my side, and on behalf of the New African Canadians team, I want to thank you. I know, Anthony, did you have something? I know we want to give people who haven't spoken tonight.
I just wanted to thank everyone for attending, and Vivian, this was a very good event. Yeah, these are very crucial points, I would say. Let's think about our estate planning, think about your insurance policy, think about your mortgage, and then don't forget the will, because the will supersedes everything. The will is powerful. And let's talk to, the team, talk to the lawyers, talk to the people that are well versed with this field. It is very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we will meet again on the 14th. We have these bi-weekly sessions, and please subscribe to New African Canadians. Learn more. We are recruiting for board members, people who can support us in really running this. This is a community initiative. This is not something that just comes out of the blue. So we really thank people like Carol, who, out of their busy schedule can volunteer their expertise. We cannot thank them enough. And to all of us here on this chat room, being a Friday evening, spending 1.5 hours with us, it's a privilege. Please keep supporting the work that community members do. Let's do it with kindness and love and courage, so that even when some of us in the community pass on, the burden is not very huge. Let's also continue praying for people who are hospitalized, people who are in pain, people who are traveling. Many of our colleagues who don't have legal status and are in detention. Last week, I got 3 calls from people who are facing deportation and they need my help. I am torn because I can't do a lot when I'm alone. So if you can join us and the New African Canadians team and other community initiatives to push the agenda forward, that would be very much appreciated. It is 7:32 p.m. in Toronto and 8:32 p.m. in Prince Edward Island. I thank you so much for your time. Good night, and the meeting is over. You can continue the networking.
Thank you
Henry.
very much, Mr. Lobia. Good.
Thank you.
Remember, everyone. Afande Momo, did you have something?
Oh, I was just letting you know that in such meetings, if you could get us like a summary, like a newsletter, which goes out to all communities of what we have achieved and what we've done, that will help out to build our clientele and also our participation into the next coming meeting. So if at all you always have a newsletter out of what you achieved in this meeting, what we discussed on, somebody is going to be looking forward for the next meeting. That's all I wanted to add up.
That's a good one. Maybe Carol has attended the last one. Maybe she can share. And Faith, how do we usually do this?
Okay, the sharing should be on our platforms, on the WhatsApps and everything, in a computerized format. Yes, we understand who have been participating, but we need to see it in our groups so that people add value to the group and are able to come. So you see in the US, it's me and Reverend Kamgisha and Charity who have been here, but we need more people to participate. And the more they see these newsletters, these write-ups and these Zooms coming up, they will be able to participate and will be beneficiary to all this, or privy to all this information that is being put out there.
So Maureen, should I send out a summary of what we just discussed? Is that something that you're thinking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Henry can, put it on the newsletter for his organization that he's advocating for. And then that is when everybody, they would see it, like here we had so-and-so participants, and this is what we discussed on, and it touched on such lives, and we hope to see you next time, something.
Okay.
Very good. Thanks for the reminder. I know Mark Lubulwa is here. He's an advisory member. If you are available, can you also say something about this? Mark, maybe my be at work. But just Maureen, to give a little bit of background, we have been holding these sessions for quite some time, even before Zoom became Zoom. We used to have face-to-face workshops and talk about immigration settlement and related issues. We proud ourselves to be the first in our communities to start using Zoom in March 2020, when the entire place was locked down. And so what we do, if I get your phone number, I make sure I summarize the topics to only the people who have attended. And it's up to the people who have attended who can share it, because I think that all of us are busy, but people coming into volunteering their time, they can have access to that information. And we want to build our community networks. We've approached a few other community initiatives, and very few are willing or available to help out, because this is 110% volunteer work. So someone just commented in the chat that I usually send out the summaries to the groups, but probably I should work with other community initiatives so that we make this a Canadian American thing. So that's where now our UNA organization comes in. If we really feel that this can benefit us all, Maureen, this is a wonderful initiative that we can invite people. So on the 14th of October, we shall be back, and hopefully we'll get many members to participate and to act.
I think it will be the 15th.
Oh, 15th, Friday?
No?
2 weeks from now is when? 15?
16.
Okay, I don't have my...
To be 16th.
16th.
No. It can't be.
Okay, but it's going to be 2 Fridays from now, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 Eastern.
The 15th, 1-5.
At 6 p.m.
Okay, so you just need to take out a newsletter by that time and give reminders of 1 week prior, and then the other week on the Thursday, so that Thursdays everybody knows tomorrow we have it, and when you blast it out on the Friday, everybody's on board. You know, the publicity is key to every Zoom participation. The moment it doesn't get a lot of publicity, or does not, people do not know what it's about, they always tend to shy away from it. But if we start publicizing it the way it's supposed to be and giving the topics, and today when you mentioned Carol Lutaaya, me, I knew who she was. I go like, oh, let me just jump on this. Immediately I had to, you know, despite the fact that it was from Henry, Carol boosted it more. So such things need to be out more in the communities. And you see how my Virginia friend just said, I said Maureen Kalemba. He goes like, I don't know Maureen Kalemba. And he goes like, are you a fan of Momo? So whatever they know you with is what brings in water. Yeah. And if at all you have to help out a person in whatever caliber and participation it is, you need to let it out there. So newsletters, WhatsApp groups, community oriented, and make it big. Don't limit it to Canada, because we have a lot of lawyers in here. You know, we have a lot of different professionals in here. We have our spiritual leaders like Reverend Kamgishas in here. So there's a lot to benefit from, lots of insurance guys. We have all that in here. So we just needed to make it broad, and wherever the American person comes in, the Ugandan person comes in, and the Canadian person, wherever they are in UK, you know, who knows, you know, just broaden it out. It will get the participation you need, and it will get the actual input that we all need to make our families strong, our communities strong, and our organization strong. Thank you.
You hit it on the head. Yes, you're right. Again, I can't thank you enough on that. The challenge has really been, I can be honest, not so many people are willing to commit to volunteering. For these meetings, I can tell you, I've invited some of my team members to co-host, and people are busy, people are saying that work. And so even though I can draft a poster, sometimes when I have time, I can. Many times I don't, and I just write it up. And for the report, I make a summary of the events. Someone, I think, sort of raised a point that, oh, why are they recording? And yet I'm sure there is a disclaimer when you are coming into this. Some people's levels of comprehension are different. They're not looking at something they're gaining from this, but they're looking at, okay, am I being recorded? Why are they recording? I mean, that's the nature of our people. But if we formalize our board, then I would be very happy to, sit on the sidelines and, people can take over. So I'm inviting you to be part of our team, because this is not an individual thing. This is a community initiative. And we've been doing this for quite some time. Mr. Wilson Kamansasira, you're welcome. You've been part of us since the day you arrived in Canada. Any thoughts? We're just debriefing. The meeting just ended.
Thank you, Henry. I've just joined in. I don't know what's going on.
Any questions or comments?
I found you there. Not as such, because I've just joined in, so I don't know where you are. I'm just coming in because I was traveling. I just reached home, so I have no comment. But just to thank you that it happened. Because,
yeah, someone mentioned that there are more people need to join. So if one isn't in such a professional, how can they be of help to the movement? That's a good one. Maybe we need to also do a little bit of marketing of our organization. But for me, I feel we don't have to do the marketing. What matters most is what we do. I can run a workshop of 2 people and I feel very comfortable. At least we're not after numbers. We want the few people who come here. That's why people are still staying, even when the meeting has ended. I think that's value. And growing a movement starts with 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. So anyone can join. Again, this is not the entire Canadian community. This is being put together by a small organization formed last year called New African Canadians. We exist to provide immigration, integration, and mental health support to newly arrived individuals. So we need such feedback. We need your help. Rahim, you had your hand up. I think your broadband is cutting. Rahim? Rahim? Joanne? Which Joanne is this, by the way? Joanne, do you want to say hi? I've seen some posts. Mia, you haven't said anything. You're muted. You're muted, Mia. Mia, you're muted. Mia? You are muted if you are talking. ONL. Oh, Joan Namugera. Yes, Joan, thank you, Namugera, Joan. Just learning more, thank you for the information. Thank you. ONL. Christine. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Let me get to some YouTube as people get off. Mpola mpola. Mwebale nnyo bannange, mwebalire ddala. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.
Have a good one to everyone. Please don't forget to write your wills by the next 2 weeks, or at least a draft.
Okay, have
We
you
want
recorded
this to
this?
be more meaningful. You know, our workshops, we really need people to leave with something.
Andre, have you recorded this?
Yes.